All right, then we get into another interview then now as well. And of course, the agri sector has been quite important as well. Stats SA data has been delayed because of the lockdown as well, leading to a lack of key economic data like inflation, which is quite critical. It's expected, though, that CPI will remain subdued this year. And that's due to the lower demand for goods, which stems from low economic growth as well. This is on the back of a loss of income as job losses indeed mount and continue as a result of the effects of COVID-19. However, there has been a complaint that food prices have been going higher. And the question at this time, I suppose, for many consumers would be why. Let's chat then to Wandile Sihlobo, who is agricultural economist at AGBIZ as well, who joins us on the line. Wandile, thank you so much for the time. So many people will ask, in a time like this, in a time when there's no demand for goods, goods are still going up. Why?
Yeah, I think, Arabile, it's really certain products, not the entire basket. People might have seen a slight increases, say, on eggs, where the demand was pretty much up, but also in some of the fruits and vegetables. But I think those increases, particularly on the fruits and vegetables, were really temporarily, because those began in the first few days or so when we went on a lockdown, and there was still some bit of glitches on managing the regulations. The assessment from our side is that from now onwards, food price inflation will remain subdued, as you rightly said in your introductory remarks. So those could be the glitches, but I think broadly we have enough supplies, and I think that we will be at comfortable levels in the coming months.
Should we be fearful of maybe having an egg shortage? I only say that because, as you well noted, in the 9 weeks of the lockdown, possibly one of the biggest things to have happened was a baking boom in the country, which certainly means that things like eggs come under high demand.
Yeah, I don't think that, Arabile, in this year we can expect any of the shortages in all of the food products that we pretty much use. Because I think when we're looking on a supply perspective, there is now broadly a good supplies of all of those. Even on the egg side, where there was a bit of some pressures, people are slowly getting back to work and we are somewhat fully operational. So I think that there's going to begin to be a good flow of all of the products. In all of the difficulties that were caused by the regulations throughout the process, I think those have been cleared out. And for the sake of the poultry producing side, I mean, we're expecting now a second biggest harvest in history of this country, which means that there will be affordable supply of feed to help them keep going. You're looking on a vegetable, and then on the fruit side, there's really bumper crops across a number of sub-commodities. I think that we are looking at a relatively better space as South Africa. On our side, for example, at AGBIZ, we have South Africa's food price inflation for this year at around about 4%. And we do think that we might actually be even on the upper end of everyone that is in the market and looking at this space. So we're not expecting any problems on the food supply, at least over the next 11 months or so.
Yeah. Have the full effects of the recent drought, I mean, it now feels like a while ago when you compare it to the pandemic that's happening right now, but have the full effects of the drought really been taken out the system, if you want to call it that? Are we perhaps back to somewhat of a full production capacity when it comes to crops?
I think that question, Arabila, you can review it in two ways. Looking broadly just on a production output perspective, we can say, yes, we are fully out of the drought on that perspective, because the volumes are way bigger than that. The maize one that I was talking about, it's up around about 39% or so, for example, year-on-year basis. But when you're looking at the income side of the businesses and the farmers, it's a different discussion. I mean, you have debt levels in farming this side approaching 200 billions a year. And that has been rising at a faster pace. And that has a lot to do with farmers' inability in some areas to cover up some of their debt during the drought years. So the hope is that with this year, that will give people somewhat a relatively better financial muscle to be able to plow out of those obligations that were caused by the drought. But obviously, this is not going to be a once-off thing. I think it takes 3 years, 4 years for people to fully be in good shape out of the difficult droughts like what we have seen over the past few seasons.
Yeah. Are farmers feeling a little bit more secure that things are perhaps going to get back to normal, whether it be in the form of demand as well as their own crops as well, considering, one, the state of South Africa's economy? Is there going to be excess demand or excess supply, should I say then, of crops as well as poultry items also?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we are watching closely, Arabile, and I write about this in an essay this morning, is on the export side, because as you will recall from your work, that we export roughly about 50% in value terms of what we produce in South Africa. And about a third of what we export goes to Europe, 40% to the African continent, Asia, the rest in the other parts of the world. So what we're looking on a lot is to say, what will be the demand like for the products that we put to global markets? Because those products that we send out are largely high value products. If you're thinking more on the higher end of the vegetables, of the fruits, and the higher end of the wines, those are the products that will go there, and red meat. Now, the question is to say, will the demand remain robust in the global market? And we do think that for 2020, at least we are confident that we could be able to see solid export activity. But 2021, a lot is going to depend on the point that you are mentioning of the buying power of people in all of these markets. We already know the African market side that GDP per capita on a number of countries is going to be taking a huge knock. So the demand might not be as robust. But that's something that we are watching and hoping that where the people don't have the means to buy, the international organizations like the WFP, which is the World Food Program, and the rest will be able to be the key buyers of products for those markets. Domestically, we don't think that there will be a huge knock on the demand side, at least over the foreseeable future, because we think that commodities prices and the food products prices will be at affordable levels, and people will anyway need to consume some of these products. And for the less well-off, I think the government is somewhat also trying with all of these food vouchers popping up also on the social grants to assist there.
Wandile, you should consider writing a book about all this stuff. Oh, wait, you actually have one. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Wandile Sihlobo is author and agricultural economist as well. They're joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.